Here's a sentence I never thought I'd say as a science communicator. Your daily coffee habit might be doing more for your liver than most supplements on the market. And no, that's not wellness influencer talk. That's published, peer-reviewed dose-response data. I'm from Beyond Limit Health, and today we're going deep on a question that sounds almost too good to be true. Can your morning coffee actually protect your liver from fat buildup, scarring, and even cancer? Now, full disclosure before we start. 15 years ago, if you'd told me coffee protects the liver, I would have filed that under things your aunt forwards on WhatsApp. But then, something interesting happened. The studies kept coming, big ones, with imaging, with biomarkers, and the signal just refused to go away. So today we're going to look at what the evidence actually says, not the headlines, not the hype. We'll cover how strong each claim is, where the gaps are, and what you should realistically do with this information. Think of this as your liver's coffee briefing, backed by science, filtered through honesty. Let's start with the scale of the problem, because context matters. MASLD, that's metabolic dysfunction, associated steatotic liver disease, and yes, the name is a mouthful, affects roughly 1 in 4 adults globally. That's about 2 billion livers walking around with more fat in them than they should have. For most people, it's silent, no symptoms. You feel fine. But over years and decades, that extra fat can trigger inflammation, then scar tissue, and in some cases, cirrhosis or liver cancer. Liver cancer, by the way, has more than doubled in incidence over the past 40 years. This is not a rare disease. This is a slow-motion epidemic, hiding in plain sight. So where does coffee fit into this? The first real signal came from observational studies in the 1990s and 2000s. Researchers kept noticing that coffee drinkers had lower liver enzymes, ALT, AST, GGT, the blood markers that tell you your liver is unhappy. At first, everyone was skeptical, and they should have been. This is classic observational epidemiology problem number 1. Maybe coffee drinkers are just healthier people overall. Maybe they exercise more, drink less alcohol, eat more vegetables. But here's the thing. When you adjust for all of that statistically, BMI, alcohol, smoking, diet quality, exercise, socioeconomic status, the signal remains. It gets weaker, as you'd expect, but it doesn't disappear. And then the meta-analyses started rolling in. If you're not familiar with meta-analysis, think of it as a study of studies. You take all the high-quality research on a question, pool the data, and ask, what's the overall pattern? In 2017, a landmark paper in the BMJ, that's one of the world's top medical journals, pulled together data from 2 million participants. Their finding, 1 cup of coffee per day was associated with a 20% lower risk of hepatocellular carcinoma, the most common type of primary liver cancer. Not 10%, not a borderline p-value, 20% with a clear dose-response curve. Let me translate that from epidemiology speak to English. Dose response means more coffee, lower risk in a stepwise fashion. 1 cup, about 20% reduction. 2 cups, about 35%. 3 cups, about 40%. 4 or more, the risk is roughly cut in half. Now, any honest scientist will tell you, and I am telling you, dose response does not prove causation. It's strong circumstantial evidence, but it's not the same as a randomized controlled trial where we flip a coin and assign people to drink coffee, or not, for 10 years. But here's where the story gets genuinely interesting. Until recently, all we had were blood tests and cancer registries. Those are useful, but they're indirect. You're looking at downstream consequences, not what's actually happening inside the liver. That changed in the last couple of years. Researchers started using direct imaging, MRI-PDFF. That's a special MRI sequence that quantifies exactly how much fat is in your liver. And FibroScan, essentially an ultrasound that measures liver stiffness as a proxy for scarring. For the first time, we could look inside and say, okay, coffee drinkers, do their livers actually look different? The answer, published in major journals, is yes, they do. Daily coffee drinkers had 18 to 25% less fat on MRI compared to non-drinkers. Heavy drinkers, 4 cups or more, approached 30% less, and the fibrosis data tells a parallel story. people drinking 2 or more cups per day had about 40 to 50% lower odds of showing significant liver scarring on FibroScan. Now, I want to pause and make something crystal clear. These are still observational studies. We have not done the definitive randomized trial, and there's a reason for that. It would cost tens of millions of dollars, take a decade, and require thousands of people to either drink or abstain from coffee for years. That's a tough sell to a funding agency. But there's a fascinating nuance here that I think is worth appreciating. When you see a protective effect that's stronger for the liver than for the body overall, which is exactly what the data shows, by the way, that pattern is hard to explain away with the healthy user bias argument. If coffee drinkers were just healthier people overall, you'd expect the mortality benefit to be spread across all causes equally. Heart disease, cancer, everything, but it's not. The liver-specific protection is much stronger. That organ-specific pattern is exactly what you'd expect if there's a real biological mechanism at work. So let's talk about those mechanisms, because they're actually pretty cool. Coffee is weirdly complex, chemically speaking. It contains over 1,000 bioactive compounds. We're not just talking about caffeine. We're talking about chlorogenic acid, caffeine, compounds most people have never heard of that turn out to be surprisingly relevant to liver biology. Here's an analogy I like. Think of your liver as a busy city. There's traffic. That's normal metabolism. There's pollution. That's oxidative stress. There are accidents. That's cellular damage. And there's road repair. That's your body's healing mechanisms. Coffee seems to work on multiple levels in this city. First, it sends in more cleanup crews. That's the antioxidant effect of chlorogenic acid. Second, it calms down the riot police that sometimes overreact. That's the anti-inflammatory effect via NF-kappa B inhibition. Third, it tells the fat storage warehouses to stop accepting deliveries and start shipping out inventory lags. That's AMPK activation, which shifts your liver from fat storage mode to fat burning mode. And fourth, and this one's genuinely fascinating, it seems to strengthen the border control between your gut and your bloodstream. Your intestinal lining is basically customs and immigration for everything you absorb. When it gets leaky, and yes, leaky gut is a real thing, though Instagram overuses the term, bacterial toxins can sneak through and hit your liver. Coffee polyphenols appear to tighten up those junctions in your gut lining. Fewer toxins reaching the liver means less background inflammation. Less background inflammation means less drive toward fibrosis. Now, I can see some of you thinking, okay, but does decaf work? Because caffeine and I have a complicated relationship after 2 p.m. Fair question. And the answer is yes, but probably not quite as well. Studies looking specifically at decaf find protective associations, but the effect sizes tend to be about 15 to 25% smaller than what we see with regular coffee. This actually makes sense when you look at the chemistry. The polyphenols and diterpenes, those are still present in decaf. The decaffeination process doesn't strip them completely, but caffeine itself seems to contribute additional metabolic benefits, probably through that AMPK pathway we talked about. So the practical takeaway is, if caffeine doesn't agree with you, drinking decaf is still very likely better for your liver than not drinking coffee at all. But the full strength version probably gives you the maximum protective package. Now let's talk about individual differences, because this is where population level data meets real life. And real life is messy. You have a gene called CYP1A2. It's basically your caffeine processing speed dial. If you're a fast metabolizer, caffeine moves through your system quickly. If you're a slow metabolizer, and about half the population falls into this category, caffeine hangs around much longer. This matters. A slow metabolizer who drinks coffee at 4 p.m. might still have significant caffeine in their system at midnight, disrupting deep sleep. And here's the kicker. Poor sleep is independently associated with fatty liver disease. So you could theoretically be getting liver benefits from the coffee compounds while simultaneously harming your liver through sleep disruption. The net effect depends on your genes, your timing, and your dose. Biology is never just one variable. This is why, at Beyond Limit Health, we don't do one-size-fits-all recommendations. The science is nuanced, and your body is unique. Our job is to give you the evidence framework so you can make informed decisions for yourself. So let's translate all of this into practical, actionable guidance. What should you actually do? First, if you already drink 1 to 3 cups of coffee a day and you enjoy it, The current evidence does not support any reason to stop for liver health concerns. If anything, the data leans in the opposite direction. Second, if you don't drink coffee, I would not recommend starting solely for liver protection. The evidence is compelling, but observational. We don't have the RCT gold standard. And caffeine is not risk-free. It can affect anxiety, sleep, blood pressure, and pregnancy. Third, what you add to your coffee matters enormously. A large caramel frappuccino with whipped cream is not the intervention that was studied in these papers. The health benefits, if they exist, almost certainly come from black coffee or coffee with minimal milk. Added sugar may directly counteract metabolic benefits. Think of it this way. If coffee is potentially giving your liver a small protective nudge, dumping 50 grams of sugar on top is like asking your liver to process a second dessert. The net effect could easily be zero or negative. Fourth, timing probably matters. If coffee disrupts your sleep, the liver protection equation gets more complicated. Most of the research suggests keeping your last cup before 2 p.m. if you're sensitive to caffeine. Your sleep and your liver are connected in ways we're only beginning to understand. Here's my favorite way to frame this whole topic, and it reflects how we think about health at Beyond Limit Health. Coffee is not a magic bullet. There is no magic bullet. The most powerful evidence-based interventions for your liver are the unsexy ones. Maintain a healthy weight, exercise regularly, limit alcohol, avoid excess sugar. But within that framework of the fundamentals, which we should all be doing anyway, your coffee habit appears to be an unexpected bonus. A small, measurable, biologically plausible protective signal from a beverage that billions of people already enjoy. And I find that genuinely delightful. Not because it's a shortcut. There are no shortcuts in health, but because it's a reminder that the relationship between what we consume and how our bodies function is more complex, more interesting, and sometimes more positive than we assume. So tomorrow morning, when you're holding that cup, you can appreciate it on two levels. Level 1, caffeine, alertness. The reason most of us started drinking coffee in the first place. Level 2, chlorogenic acid, polyphenols, diterpenes. A complex molecular symphony that might be quietly supporting one of your hardest working organs. And if you're the kind of person who likes to optimize things, and if you're watching Beyond Limit Health, you probably are, here's the optimization play. Black coffee, 1 to 3 cups before 2 p.m. Simple, evidence-informed, no exotic supplements required. That's the kind of health optimization we're interested in. Not the stuff that costs hundreds of dollars a month and requires a leap of faith. The stuff that's accessible, affordable, and increasingly supported by data. If this deep dive was valuable to you, please like and subscribe to Beyond Limit Health. We release evidence-based health science videos every week, covering longevity, brain performance, nutrition, sleep, and human performance. And I have a genuine question for you. Drop it in the comments. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day? And at what time do you have your last cup? I'm curious about the real-world patterns our community follows. Also, if there's a health topic where the headlines are confusing and you want us to dig into what the evidence actually says, let us know. We read every comment, and your suggestions directly shape our content pipeline. A quick but important note before we go. Everything we've discussed today is for informational purposes. This is not medical advice. If you have liver health concerns, please consult a qualified healthcare professional. Evidence informs decisions. It doesn't replace clinical judgment. Thanks for spending this time with us. At Beyond Limit Health, we believe that understanding the science behind your daily habits is one of the most empowering things you can do for your long-term health. So stay curious, question the headlines, and maybe, just maybe, enjoy your next cup of coffee with a little extra appreciation for what it might be doing behind the scenes. See you in the next one.